G'day guys, my name is Kristen. This is going to be my series where I rebuild my project car, which is a little Subaru Brumby from 1992. For those who don't know what a Brumby is, shame on you. It's a really bloody cool ute. They're obviously way out of production. This car is older than I am. One of the reasons I bought it is because, well, one, I freaking love Subaru. But two, the chassis, the engine, and the design of this car has been around for it was like 2 decades or something like that, and it's virtually unchanged. This sort of car is unkillable. They're also pretty bloody cool. They're really good to look at, and they're really unique. I really wanted to get myself a ute for my own nefarious sort of dealings, but I didn't want to get some Ranger or something like that. Sorry if you're in a Ranger. I wanted something that had a little bit of character. My issue though is that I wanted a rebuild car, but I'm not a mechanic. I've rebuilt motorbikes before, sure, but never a car, and I can appreciate just how complex, especially modern cars and hybrid systems, these things are getting really complicated, and there's so many bougie bits and bobs on them that it's just like one little thing will break, there's a million other bits and bobs associated with it. So I wanted to get a car that was pretty basic. The model I have is an 1800 Subaru Brumby GL. It's running an EA81 engine. I'm thinking about whether or not I want to swap it out for an EA82, which is a 5-speed gearbox sort of situation going on there, and sort of pump it up a little bit, or just keep it stock. I'll have a look and see what the engine's like, and sort of cross that hurdle when it's time. So with the little Subaru Brumby that I've got, it's so basic. It doesn't have air conditioning. It's just got a fan. It doesn't have power steering, and it's got a 4-speed manual transmission gearbox, which is beautiful. It's just a beautiful, simple little car, and to say that I've fallen in love with it is a complete understatement. So about this car, this is the manual that I'm going to be using. This, and I've got a downloaded PDF version of the Subaru owners or service manual that is used by the original mechanics. That thing's like 800 pages, but I'm actually finding the Haynes manual is a little bit better. But you'll see that the engine itself comes from all the way from 1979 through to 1994. This is a 1992 model. It's only, I think it was October or December 1992. So it's really right near the end of a run of the Brumbies. So it's a pretty late model, which is I'm really happy with that. So this is the service manual that I found a PDF copy of. There you go. So this is a EA81 1600 to 1800 size engine. Service manual, original for a Subaru. Something like 800 pages, and it's really good in terms of knowing about greases, bearings, and that sort of stuff. It doesn't have part numbers or anything like that in it. It's something I'm still on the hunt for, is the parts number associated with the original service manual. But I think that one might be a little bit rare as hen's teeth, and luckily, because the Brumby was such an iconic car, and the Leon and the GLs from the Subarus were a very popular car back in the day, the componentry is still really, really relatively accessible here in Australia, which is fantastic. So I'm pretty happy with that. Alright, I'm going to show you around the car. It's a little bit worse for wear. It's up on jacks at the moment. I've just taken out the front steering system, and you can see a video on that whole process, because it was a process and a half. And yeah, I'll have a run through and show you guys what the actual car's looking like, and sort of some of the points of concern, focus, and some of the good bits as well, which is hopefully a majority. So this is the car. It's in my back shed. I've wanted to rebuild a car now for years and years and years. It's been a sort of little, I guess, a dream of mine. But where we were living for a really long time was in the city, in a little townhouse, and I just didn't have the space. I just didn't have the space to do a full restoration, which is one of the reasons why I was focusing on motorbikes. But now we're fortunate enough to have moved out regionally, and despite the fact it's far away, which is actually a blessing, we've got all this space and all this land, which means that I've been able to set up a workshop of my dreams. It's still a work in progress. Never rebuilt a car before, and I know it's quite complex, but we're hoping to sort of treat this as a learning process. And I think that's something that I want you guys to appreciate as you watch this build series. That is, a lot of the times when I'm filming something and I'm making mistakes and you're going, what is she doing? And literally, one, I don't know what I'm doing. And two, it's probably the first or second time that I'm ever doing it. And it's sort of like a process of, I guess, exploration, right? So bear with me. Please spare me your judgment, because I will be judging myself. And when I realize what a mistake I've made or something, trust me, that self-loathing, that's going to be stronger than anything you can chuck at me. So anyway, we'll run through the car, have a bit of a sticky beak, and see what we're working with. All right, let's get to it. So I bought this car from a farmer out west, and it had been sitting as a project car of his son's for quite a number of years. And his son had gone through and started to make some pretty good updates to the vehicle. And it had been sitting on Facebook Marketplace, which is always a good sign, for quite a while. And I was able to pick this up really cheap. And the reason I was able to do that was because he was looking for somebody who was after treating the car right. As far as I was told, this car had been sitting up on the border of Queensland and New South Wales and being used, not, thank God, fingers crossed, I guess we'll find out, as a paddock basher. And then somebody, insanely, it might have been old mate's son, might have driven it all the way down from the border of Queensland, New South Wales to Victoria, which is where we are. So I was able to drive it home. Took me about half an hour, 45 minutes. And the car was able to stick really well, all the way up to about 80, 85 k's per hour. New brakes were working okay. Steering was a bit heavy, which is one of the reasons I'm redoing it. And then the car would start to shake when I hit 90. I tell you what, it was pretty scary. But we got there on time. So one of the biggest issues with this car at the moment is the electronics. All the front has been, I don't know what old mate's done, but he started to reinstall or change out the headlights. And then as a result, a lot of the electronics at the front, I don't know what he's done with the wiring limb. I haven't looked at it yet properly, but there are a lot of issues. But we'll start with the chassis of the car, just to get an idea about the rust. Considering this Brumby has been sitting in a paddock for God knows how long, it's pretty good. I've checked in the usual spots before purchasing for signs of rust eating through, and the tray, this sort of thing, is usually a really good indicator as to there being a problem, because water will just sit here and cause rust. So you can see here there's been an indentation in the tray, so it's warped, and as a result, when water is sat here, they haven't been able to find the drain holes, which is why we're seeing this bigger rust spot. Luckily, however, it always just surface rust, but it being a ute, it is warped and it is bashed. We've got spots like this throughout the car, which, if you can see up close, you can see the bare metal around this spot, which means that when I sand that back, it is just surface. And you get that sort of thing across the entire car, like so. But we're going to be repainting this entire vehicle, obviously. I want to stick with stock. I don't want to do anything fancy. Now, it's also got a lot of dents, but if we look down the side of the car, it's actually pretty clean, considering how old this vehicle is. And it has been used as a farm vehicle, and that's what it's designed for. It's an Australian, it's a Brumby for Pete's sake. It's not a show car, it's a utility, and it should be used. So considering all that, panel work looks really neat. And you'll see the gap around the frame of the door, for example. It's pretty bloody good. So for the price he was asking and the location, close to home, can't say no. Welcome inside the cockpit. It's a very simple car. Look how short. I'm like 5'1", so even though this is a really little car, there's nothing to it, I still need to pull this seat all the way forward. Now, I'm not worried at all about these seats. I've read online, and I'm thinking I might replace them with BRZ seats. I used to have a BRZ, a 2015 model, and I loved that car, little bucket seats. As everybody should have, I've got a lot of spare parts in the passenger seat. These are all from the guy who was rebuilding the car before me. Luckily, I've just pulled out the front steering system, so the CV joint boots are going to be very, very useful. The new exhaust hanger. So he was thinking about replacing the exhaust, and I'll show you what that looks like at the moment. We've taken it out of the car, and it is pretty bloody gnarly. I think I might just buy a new one. New brake lines. This one I'm kicking myself for. New brake pads. I already bought some new ones, but I guess I'll keep these for the next time I need them. And we've also got some new bushings for the suspension. Moving on to the head unit. You'll see there is no head unit. There is no fancy pants situation here. This is where the radio used to go. And I'm very tempted to pull this whole thing out and see if I can't put maybe down here a touchscreen unit. I did the same in my BRZ, which was a 2015 model, so just before the big touchscreens came in, and that was an amazing, that plus the installation of a reversing camera were just two very easy things to do to really improve the day-to-day modernity of the car. Now, when I'm restoring this vehicle, I think it's important to note that I'm going to be using this car. I want this to be my daily driver. I'm going to take this to the gym. I'm going to drive it to, Woolies and Audi and stuff like that. So it's going to get good use. I want to enjoy using it. And so I'm not going to be concerned with making it stock, beautiful, picturesque show car. I want to use it for what it was intended to be used for. I'm going to put, my project stuff in the back. I'm going to use it as a utility. I'm really excited to have a car that's going to have a tray. So, if you're going to be offended by that, then I'm so sorry. But I think this car deserves a second life, and I want it to die as a car, not, sitting in the shed scared to be used. Alright, other things we've got here. Nice little bits. Like, little bits missing. Like that sort of thing. And the windscreen is so dirty, but some minor... I think I might just have it replaced, to be honest. This sort of thing, as well as the windows, they're just grimy. A retint on them would be great. You'll see here, The rear is just covered in this film that we need to remove. There's a center light there that I haven't even tried to use, and I wouldn't be surprised if it just doesn't work. And that's it. That's the entire cabin. The best thing about this vehicle, though, is the lack of rust. Now, one of the things I want to show you, which is a little concerning, is underneath the seat here, where we've got the sound dampening on the floor. And you get this whiff of something that smells a little bit concerning. And that, my friends, that's black mold. And that's not good. And the reason that's not good is because this dampening is wet to the touch. And if it's wet and it's been sitting, do you know what that means? That means rust. Now, black mold aside, I mean, far out, I should probably be wearing a respirator right now. Wow, yeah, I'm going to take this out and let that air out. And I'm going to turn on the air filtration system as well. But have a look down here. And the car's sealed. No sign of rust underneath. Famous last words. We'll see how we go as we disassemble the chassis. So, some of the upgrades that the original guy who was working on this car did includes these new CV joints at the front. I'm not sure to what extent he's redone them, but this looks pretty new. And it's an expensive component as well, so I'm really happy with that update, which is great. I am still going to take them out once I've done the rest of the steering system, just to check the quality of that upgrade, I suppose. Removed from the car now, but the car came with 2 new front suspensions, as well as rear struts, which is fantastic. I've removed the exhaust for the center and the front, but there's a new muffler that was installed on the car. And he's also done some fantastic work in replacing this radiator here with all new hosing. I've rebuilt the brakes, but the original owner had also replaced the brake lines and put in some new pads, which I've since replaced because I wanted to rebuild the caliper entirely. The final thing that the owner was working on before I picked up the car was, and you'll see this wiring here, some new front headlights, which are an upgrade from the original. I haven't even started looking to see how we might be able to bring these together to make them workable. Suffice to say, there's still a bit of work to happen. Now, the rest of the engine is looking pretty clean. I've made some updates myself, including brand spanking new battery. This one's a massive one. It's for 750cc, which was expensive, but it'll last really well. And let's have a look and see what this engine looks like. One of the great things about the EA81 engine, this is an 1800, is I've replaced this air filter, but it's a carby. It's old school carby engine. How cool is that? I've worked rebuilding carbies before on motorbikes, but never one in a car. And I kind of love how old school this is. It's one of the things I'll be sort of thinking about as I look to upgrade and pull apart this engine is, do I replace it with an EA82 5-speed manual transmission, or do I keep the 4-speed and just kind of vibe on it? I don't know, there's something really cute and dinky about this sort of car. I mean, it's never going to be powerful, and I'm not really a big turbo sort of kid, so, 6 of 1, right? So yeah, we're going to be completely pulling this apart and rebuilding the carburetors, as well as having a look at the engine itself. So here's the engine itself. I'm going to be pulling it, and we can see the diff underneath there, which I'm also going to be pulling out and rebuilding or having a look. At the moment, it fires straight off the bat, which is fantastic. So you can see that firing process. I'm not going to do that now. I've removed the exhaust. So it's not at a stage where you'd want to be turning it over. But all I did was change the oil out, and it went from needing quite a bit of gas to get it going to firing straight off the bat every time, even from a cold start. It's one of the really great things about these engines is that they will just go and go. This car is designed to be a really reliable workhorse of a car, and it's a really simple sort of construction as well. So I'm really happy with it. We're going to see just how much I need to get into it as we sort of progress through this build. But it's one of the things that I think is the biggest sort of starting point about this car is that it's healthy. The only issue I'm having, or the biggest sort of concern I have, is, like with all these sorts of cars, is the chassis and dealing with rust. And you can see some very gnarly rust in this car. Look at this. And it's just, once we remove the engine, which I will do, pull the engine out and go at this body, we can clean up this whole space. But for now, I'm really happy with the way that this car is coming together. Now, in terms of the rust on this body, this cowl here, I have a feeling is going to be one of the most rust prone or hiding spots. I haven't pulled it yet. When I do, I can guarantee you that we're going to find a little bit more rust than what is perhaps healthy. So this is going to be a bit of a nightmare. I'm okay if we have to weld up some spots because, to be perfectly honest, and this might be me being ignorant, but I bought this car with the expectation that I would want her to learn how to weld and some of these more difficult sort of jobs. In the wheel arches, you'll see the usual suspects of this sort of surface rust. And then componentry like the actual chassis itself and some of these support arms are just so rusty. But luckily this sort of thing can be removed and sandblasted down to be made like new again. So a lot of the rust here is on parts which I can, not easily, but can definitely access and refurbish, which is fantastic. And I'm really looking forward to that whole process. I mean, it looks gnarly right now, but you'll be amazed at the power of a good sandblaster. And I've got some Eastwood chassis paint coming, which is supposed to be exceptionally strong and high quality. So once this stuff goes through the sandblaster and painted up again, I think we can get them looking like brand new. Now, there are some components on this car which I am just going to replace. Perhaps the most obvious is the bull bar, because this bull bar has been used for its intended purpose and is warped beyond recognition. So I'll get a new one. Instead of refurbishing, and she's going to come up good as new. All right, so that's a walk around my Brumby. I am very excited about sort of moving into this car and slowly going through every step, every bolt, every system, every linkage. As I mentioned before, I'm really using this as a learning process and experience for me. First car that I've ever rebuilt. It's an absolute privilege to be able to have the space now, and I'm very aware that I'm going to be making quite a few mistakes. So I hope you guys enjoyed the journey. I'm not really expecting it to take a short amount of time. It's not going to be one of those instant gratification things. I want to sit on this for a while. I don't want it to be show quality. I want it to be ute. I want it to be workable. But I want to give this car a chance at second life and do the best job that I can without just throwing all of the insane money at it or replacing parts. Where possible, I'd like to be able to refurbish and reuse. But where something is completely buggered, like the bull bar, for example, changing it out for new just makes sense. So some stuff is going to be ugly. Other stuff I hope will be a little bit better quality. So I hope you guys enjoy the journey. And just as an aside, to my wife, yes, don't worry, I will be replacing the mudguards. I am aware that they're chewed up.